Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to another episode. I'm Tess Carletta, and today I'm being joined by JT Adria, or June, and I'm very excited about it. June, how are you doing today?
Hey, it's awesome to be here, and thanks for having me. It's actually starting to be spring over here, but I'm really high up north, so it was like 60 degrees yesterday, which was like awesome, but it's gonna be like 50 again tomorrow. So I just can't wait for spring and the sun to be here. I've spent way too long without sun.
I understand because I live in the north part of my country, and spring is just now getting here as well, so I am very much with you. But which of your books are you most excited to talk about today, and why?
I am actually so bad at choosing between things. Like, I don't want to say that it's a bisexual thing. It's probably more like a me thing. And I usually just say both, if that's an option.
That is definitely an option.
So my first book is called The One Who Slept, and it's the one that people haven't heard all that much about. It's a romantic fantasy about immortals in kind of like an alternate universe setting, and it has a lot of Gaslamp vibes. One reader described it as Downton Abbey meets Doctor Who, and I still can't stop thinking about that, and I wish that I'd come up with it, to be honest.
That does sound like a really good comparison. I think I would definitely read that.
The other one, the newest one, is called Forest of the Stars, and it's a sci-fi romance about a trans space pirate whose crew tries to rob the wrong ship. The tables get turned around them pretty quickly, and they get stuck on a spaceship that happens to be sentient and loves meddling in everyone's life.
I really like the sound of that. It reminds me of The Darkness Outside Us, if you've read that at all.
Oh, yes, it's one of my favorite books ever.
You've written a much happier version of that.
Oh, definitely.
Out of those two books, do you have a favorite character you've created?
Oh, I do actually. He's called Maurice, and he's one of the viewpoint characters in The One Who Slept. He's a 500-year-old blonde Frenchman who loves wine and luxury and is also a little naive in some ways. And I was a huge fan of Anne Rice's vampire books back in high school when I probably was too young to read them. But try telling my teenage self that they would have just gone ahead and read them even harder. I was that kind of kid. I'm still that kind of person as an adult. I was so into Lestat as a character, not so much as a person, because he's like not really a good person, but I think he was such a good character. And it was so interesting to me how all his trauma helped shape him into this like incredibly toxic person. And I kind of felt like the poor guy deserved better. And I was like, I want to know what he'd be like if he actually got to grow up in a positive environment and what if he was like better equipped for like all the traumatic stuff that hundreds of years of life will like inevitably throw at anyone. And so that's how, after like having this idea like just live rent free in my head for like a whole lot of years, it all like became the character of Maurice. And I kind of love that.
So between the two of them, you like your version a little bit better than Anne Rice's?
Oh, much better. I'm not sure if he's the better character. Like, I don't think I'm better than Anne Rice, but I think Maurice is probably nicer to be around.
He sounds nicer to be around, for sure.
Though the bar is not all that high.
That's really fair. It sounds like there's not like a sci-fi through line, like a fantastical sci-fi. Like you mentioned Doctor Who, and like I'm sensing like you said there's sci-fi in your other book. What drew you to your genres and subgenres?
Yeah, there is kind of a through line there. I'm found out. So the thing is that I wasn't really ever drawn to the real world. I guess I always just wanted to escape from it. Fantasy and sci-fi and just fantastical things were such a good place to escape to. And so as a writer, I just love the part of it where it's just so versatile and like the genre is so huge. so many things are possible. Like almost anything is possible in fantasy as long as you like do the world building for it. And I think that to a smaller extent that also goes for science fiction. And I don't know, I'm really drawn to it. The fantastical aspects too.
I think that's a really common experience for a lot of us. Like that's definitely my take on it as well. But I also like what you said is like there's a lot of possibilities. Like
Yeah.
you and I can both write fantasy books, but they're probably not going to be even remotely similar other than it's gay and there's love and it's fantasy.
Yeah,
There's a lot that can happen, and I really like that.
exactly. Plus, we both have immortals in our books.
We do both have immortals. We do both have immortals in our books. You said that, and I was like, oh, we have that in common.
Yeah.
That's such a fun, like, it's just enough fantasy that it's fun to play with, but you can do it like me where you put it into like a modern day setting, or you can take it and put it into historical.
It's more like historical inspired. So it's like an almost current day setting, but technology has developed in like a very different way. So it has this historical flair, even though it's technically almost contemporary.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it was.
So tell me, what stories inspire you to do your writing?
I love stories that make me feel, either because of the story itself or just because of the way that an author uses language. Like, I love huge cinematic stories and cool superpowers. Those are like amazing and can be so fun to like read and write about. But at the end of the day, I'm all for the feels, both on like a story level and on a line level. So if I find an especially beautiful line, then I have to go back and read it again and again and again. And it just lights up my brain in fun ways, I guess. And I love that. I love the feeling of that.
Oh, I love that too. I think there's like a few books I've read that don't really have very big plots, but it's all about the feelings. So people are like, what is this book about? And I'm like, don't worry about what it's about. Worry about the way it's going to make you feel inside.
Exactly. And I love that. And it's just, it would be so nice if I could do something like that. But, if I can, that's fine too, as long as I get to read them.
I'm getting moved just hearing you talk about them. So I'm certain that there's feeling to be gleaned from your work.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice to hear.
So we've talked about the subgenres as a whole, but what are some of the themes that you love to explore or revisit in your writing?
I love writing about people who don't fit in where they are. Like, it's not usually intentional, but most of my characters also end up being neurodivergent simply because I'm autistic and have ADHD. So I can try to write a character without some of those traits, but they're not always going to end up like that. I love to explore what makes people, or like what makes someone become the person that they are. Why do they think the way they do? What are their thought processes like? And like, why do they do the things that they do? And as a tie-in to that, I'm also interested in what someone can do to change and to like become, well, if not a better person, but like a more decent version of the person that they are, if that makes sense. I think it's just so fascinating to me as a person.
So most of your characters are going to improve over the book?
Yeah, I think in some ways, maybe not in all ways, but in some ways for sure.
You know, sometimes in our own lives, there are people that we know or people that we see in the news that we just know that they're not going to improve.
Yeah.
That we don't have any faith that they're going to get any better. So I think it's nice to have books where we can see characters that are complex and just as complicated as everyday people, but then they get better and give us faith that actual people can do that.
Yeah, I agree completely. And it's also like not all of my like side characters will improve, but those are usually not the characters that you're rooting for. It's not about where a character started out as like, because maybe they weren't like such a nice person to begin with, but if they like don't end up as like a better person by like the end of the book or the end of the series, then that is kind of why they kind of failed their arc, if that makes sense.
No, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Awesome. So yeah, I think like ultimately the characters and the people who don't improve after a story or like by the end of the story, they are sort of more like, if not like straight up villains, but more villainous than anything else.
Yeah. What drives your storytelling and motivates you to write?
So we're recording this while I'm just climbing out of a writing slump. So excellent question. Probably getting a little sentimental here, but I just want my stories to exist. And when I have a story that I want to tell, then it doesn't always exist for me until it's there on a page. Like ideas literally keep me up at night. And I drafted so many scenes at like 3 a.m. when I should have been sleeping, to be honest. And I don't really know how it is for you, but I'm personally not great at consistency in like anything. And like, especially with my ADHD, most days I just go where my brain takes me. And a lot of the time I can just sit down and write. So I need a story that really wants to be written, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like kind of having my brain consumed by a story. And that's just so awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's hard sometimes because, I've done the consistency thing and I worked really hard to be consistent, but then I burnt out really bad afterwards. But then you can consistently work on a story, but if it decides in your brain that it wants to take a break, you might be like, I'm ready to keep writing, but the story is like, oh, I'm done.
Yep.
Time to take a break. And then the writing slump happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and my current book is kind of doing that to me right now. I'm like, hey, come on, I'm ready. I can write. I'm like, you know what? Let's just take a break. Not now. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and it's so hard sometimes because you're like, do I need a break? Should I push through this? Do I need to just change locations? Do I need to change projects? Do I need to sleep on it? And it's different every time, so it makes it really tough.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it really it's never the same thing twice. It's so hard to figure out like, okay, but like what kind of break do I need?
What are you trying to get out of your writing slump recently? Now I'm just curious.
Well, at first I just tried to like sort of push through it. And like I just tried to not care about like the quality of writing that I'm producing. Because I'm like, okay, maybe this scene is terrible. Maybe I'll just rewrite it like 2 weeks from now. Like, I don't care. I'll just get it down. But that doesn't always help. So honestly, I'm not sure I have like good tips for that because sometimes my brain is just like, no, definitely like just noping out of it and just won't cooperate. So sometimes I just have to like literally go on a break and just not think about the book, not think about the characters, and like just let them be. And I just hope that like in a week I will be ready to take it up again.
Yeah. It's nice when people have tips to offer, but I sometimes just like hearing about how people work through their writing slumps, even if the working through it is just tolerating it until it's over. It makes it seem more normal when it happens to us. Because then oh, the people around me are just kind of waiting it out and trying their best until it's over. So, I don't know, I really appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you. And it is good to hear that, it's not just me, that it happens to everyone around me.
What do you hope to accomplish with your stories?
Most importantly, I hope that people have a good time escaping into my stories, almost like I escape into writing them sometimes. And I hope that my characters stay with them for a long time, hopefully. And maybe also that my stories make people think. And also, my books tend to be fairly political, so there's that.
So, a really easy, attainable thing.
Yeah. I mean, if readers have a good time, then I'm really happy with that.
That's good. I think that's like something that a lot of us relate to also is just like we want people to like it, but we want it to say something and we want it to be memorable. And so I don't want to keep being like, well, I'm sure there are readers who feel that way, but like I'm certain that there are readers who feel all those things from your work.
I hope so.
The passion that you put into it and everything, it has to count for something.
I hope so. That would be amazing.
So similarly, what's the number one thing you want readers to take away from your books that you haven't already shared?
Well, I love giving my characters just questions that I'm thinking about, and like I like to work through like random ideas in my head like that. and just see how they react, see where their stories take them. And I think it would be like amazing if some of those questions made it from like my characters to readers. That would mean that I've done a good job as a writer. So that would be like the absolute most awesome thing ever.
Yeah, I agree. So, to round it all off, what advice do you have for aspiring authors?
Probably everyone says this, but just write the book. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just like has to exist. Just please write the damn book. And like, right, even if it's not great at first, then the time you spent writing it is just never wasted because it makes you into a better writer. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but it's also kind of true. But also, like, for like something actually practical, try to find a writing group where you can talk to other aspiring authors and do critique swaps or beta read each other's chapters or whatever like helps you all as authors because you can learn so much from each other and just having community is just so awesome. It's so great that when you have like a question or a problem there is like some place that you can turn to and people will understand. And I think that matters so much and it's helped me so much. Like, oh my God, I'm rambling again.
No, no, this is good. I'm sitting here, I'm nodding and I'm smiling, so you're saying good stuff.
I'm glad. Awesome. Because the thing is that I've been in like this really tiny, tight-knit critique group of mostly queer authors for years. And it's seriously been like the best thing that's ever happened to me as a writer. It's just given me so much confidence, even in my writing, that I can just show my chapters to these people, these friends, and they will like genuinely tell me if something's wrong. That's just invaluable. Plus, I can get feedback while I'm still developing the story. So I think it's just incredibly valuable as a writer.
I could not agree more, frankly. Everything you said is so true. And like, if people are out there trying to find a group and they haven't found it yet, keep looking because it's out there. But that was a perfect answer. I loved it.
Thank you. Really, groups are the best things ever.
June, where can people find you and your books?
So the easiest place to find me is on Instagram. I'm at jt.adria and it has info about all of my books. It has links to everything. My books, like Forest of the Stars, is on Kindle Unlimited, so it's easy and free to read there. And The One Who Slept is white, so it's everywhere. It's free to read on Kobo Plus. And also follow me on Instagram because I post about queer books a lot, and I think it's a really fun place to be.
It is a really fun place to be. I love your account.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm not just saying that because you're on the podcast. I really do love the account.
Thank you. That makes me happy.
Yes! You can find me at Tess.Carletta on Instagram. And you can also find the podcast Instagram for all of our news and our links at Right Here, Right Queer Podcast. And the first right is with an R, and the second right is with a W. Sebastian might edit that out, but I feel like it's worth mentioning. June, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.